Dear students, this is lesson 5 for the students of economics for class 12. This is day 5. Let's continue with macroeconomics, and we were doing unit 6, which is money and banking. Now this lesson is continuation of lesson number 4. Today we will be discussing about central bank and its functions. Okay, so how do we define a central bank? Now, it is an apex body that controls, operates, regulates, and directs the entire banking and monetary structure of the country. It is known as the apex or supreme body as it occupies the topmost position in the monetary and banking system of the country. India's central bank is the Reserve Bank of India, and it was established in April 1935 under Reserve Bank of India Act passed in 1934. So this is the logo of Reserve Bank of India. Before we move on to discuss the functions of central bank, let's understand what is monetary policy and fiscal policy. Now, monetary policy, these measures are taken by the central bank of a country to control the money supply in an economy. And fiscal policies are measures taken by the government of a country to tax its people and spend on various welfare schemes. Now, our central bank, which is the Reserve Bank of India, uses monetary measures to control money supply. Here you can see the objectives of both the policies. Okay, so now it's time for functions of central bank. You can see 5 functions on your slide. The first function, which is currency authority or bank of issue. Now, central bank has been given the sole authority of note issue, except 1 rupee notes and coins, which are issued by the Ministry of Finance. Now, all the currency that is issued is backed with assets in the form of gold coins, gold bullions, foreign securities, etc., of equal value, so as to enhance the public confidence in paper currency. Now, what are its advantages? First, it leads to uniformity of note circulation. Second, it gives power to the central bank to influence money supply. It enables the government to have supervision and control over the central bank. It ensures public faith in the currency system, and it helps in stabilization of internal and external value of currency. Okay, now let's move on to the second function, that is banker to the government. Now, how is it a banker? Because it maintains a current account for keeping their cash balances. Secondly, it carries out all the banking operations for the government. It gives loans and advances to the government for temporary periods. As an agent, it manages the public debt, and as an advisor, it advises the government on economic, financial, and monetary matters. Okay, now how is it a banker's bank and supervisor? Now, there are many kinds of banks under the RBI. RBI is the supreme or the apex body. Underneath that, there may be many kinds of public and private sector banks. So, being the apex bank, the RBI acts as a banker to other commercial banks. Under the law, commercial banks are required to keep a certain percentage of such deposits, which is known as legal reserve ratio. Now, this legal reserve ratio is again of two types, that is, statutory liquidity ratio and cash reserve ratio. I'm sure you can recall these terms that were taught to you in the previous lesson. Now, the central bank uses reserves to meet the emergency cash needs of individual commercial banks. And as a supervisor, it makes rules regarding licensing management, branch expansion, etc. The fourth and fifth function we will discuss in the next lesson. Now it's time for some assignments since two chapters have been taught to you. So these assignments are from lesson 1, 2, and 3. You must write them neatly in your registers. It's okay if you don't have the registers. You can write them down in sheets which can be attached later in your new registers. So, assignment on lesson 1. Question number 1. What was the focus of the economic policies pursued by the colonial government in India? Here you're going to write about the twofold motive, that is, export of raw materials and import of finished goods. Name some economists who estimated India's per capita income during the colonial period. All the names that were taught to you, Finlay Shiraz, Dadabhai Naroji, and V.K.R.V. Rao, all those names you should write. Now, what were the reasons for the stagnation of the agricultural sector during the colonial period? Here, once again, you have 4 points. That is low agricultural productivity, land system, revenue system, and all those points. Okay. Okay, now the fourth question. What was the state of the industrial sector under the colonial government? Again, 4 points, which are decline of handicraft industries, lack of capital good industries, and all those 4 points that were taught. Please write all the answers in details. And the last question, which is, were the handicraft industries ruined under the British rule? Support your answer with valid reasons. Here you're going to write yes, and you will write how the Britishers did not protect these handicraft industries. Instead, they charged high tariffs and taxes, which disintegrated these industries slowly. Okay, time for assignment on lesson 2. The first question. What objectives did the British intend to achieve through the policies of infrastructural development? For this answer, you should write about how the roads, the railways, the post and telegraphs, how all this helped the Britishers to achieve their selfish interests. Second question, what do you understand by the drain of Indian wealth? You will talk about the export surplus and how that export surplus was used in setting up offices and fighting wars, etc. The third question, what were the demographic conditions under the British rule? Okay, you will write about the literacy ratio, the high infant mortality rate, the high death rate, the life expectancy. Okay, all those 6, 7 points that are given there. Question number 4. Describe the pre independence occupational structure. Here you have 2 points. You will write about the dominance of the primary sector and the growing regional variation. Question number 5. Indicate the volume and direction of foreign trade under the British. Now, in the volume, you will write about the goods that were exported and the goods that were imported. And in direction, you will write about it, Britain having monopoly control over India's foreign trade. And then with the rest of the few countries that it traded with, like Persia, Ceylon, Sri Lanka, etc. And the last question, were there any positive contributions made by the British? You will write about railways, commercialization of crops. Okay, time for assignment on lesson 3. Define money. Very clearly, it has been defined to you in the previous lesson. Then, question number 2. Define money supply. You will write it is a stock of money on a particular day. What are the two features? You will write the features. Then what is legal tender money, fiat money, and high powered money? All these, if you don't remember, you can refer to the previous lessons. And the last one, the components of money supply, you will write about currency with the public and demand deposits with the bank. Now, all these answers should be in detail and self explanatory. So, with this, we come to the end of this lesson. please see my next lesson, which is lesson number 6. Thank you.